clothing enough. An estimated 80% of Americans aren't getting their recommended daily physical activity. This is a health crisis, and the solution is in our hands and our feet. It's on our shoulders. It's on our backs. It's in our souls. It's time to move and keep moving, America. Wherever you are, however you can. Movement reduces your risk of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. It improves your brain function, pain management, and immune system. And when you need help, physical therapists and physical therapist assistants are by your side, increasing your strength and mobility and improving your quality of life through prescribed exercise and teamwork. Because we are meant to climb, to dance, to soar, to thrive. Choose to move. Choose physical therapy.
Go to the all-new WJFW.com to sign up for breaking news alerts and the latest local headlines sent directly to your mobile device. You're watching Newswatch 12, news from where you live.
You would think that the office of the presidency might have been corrupted to the point that it would be a racketeering conspiracy. But it's the only way to tell the whole narrative of what seems to have happened.
Right now on Newswatch 12 today, investigations into Trump continue as new revelations are revealed. Plus...
Alrighty, so we're dry this morning. We're watching for a few more showers. I'll try to sneak in here for one more time. Your full forecast is coming up.
And see why Robin Voss has filed a lawsuit against the House January 6th committee. It's Tuesday, September 27th.
Your local news and weather from where you live. Newswatch 12 today starts now.
Good morning, and thank you for waking up with us. I'm Jackie Smith. When you're heading out the door today, you might want to make sure you have some type of jacket on you, whether that's going to be a rain jacket or just something with some good insulation, because we will be getting a little bit of a freeze later. We have Devin in the weather center. And Devin, what kind of jacket should everyone have on them today?
At least some kind of rain jacket or some way to stay warm. Today, I'm sure you just want to stay home and stay under your blanket today, right?
Well, I'm here, so.
Well, we are here today informing people of things, so that's not too bad this morning. But for those making that morning commute, the commute will be fine. It's a little bit cool out there this morning. So far, things are looking pretty good over in the Wausau area. The city lights are still on, and not much traffic just yet. We'll see that changing within the next hour or so. We're going to be watching clouds moving in from the north to the south again, along with a few showers. I'll try to sneak in here again. A very small chance today, especially near the UP border. Most of us will be fine. This is courtesy of this right here that's tracking off towards the east very slowly. So we'll get this out of here later today. Tonight we have the hard freeze on the way. Temperatures in the upper 20s or so. Maybe some of you a little bit worse. So it's definitely borderline hard freeze in a few areas. But otherwise, though, temperatures this morning in the 40s here in the Northwoods Land or Lake Sneaker River. A few 30s further down to the south where there are frost advisories in effect this morning. All right, your out the door forecast for today. Overall, slight chance for a few rain showers, but a very fall-like day, only reaching for the upper 40s with a slight chance for a few showers.
The man accused of killing 6 people and injuring dozens of others during the Waukesha Christmas parade will represent himself. Monday, the state of Wisconsin allowed Daryl Brooks to represent himself during trial. The state is also objecting to a delay of the trial if Brooks requests it. Last week, Brooks got rid of his legal team. His trial is set to begin on Monday, October 3rd. A new judge has been assigned to the Lily Peters homicide case. According to online court records, Stephen Gibbs is the new judge for the case. An application for a substitution of judicial assignment was approved on September 21st, and Gibbs was assigned to the case on Monday. No reason was given for the request, and the filing cited a Wisconsin statute which allows a defendant to request one judicial substitution. The suspect is facing charges of first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree sexual assault resulting in great bodily harm, and first-degree sexual assault of a child. 2 of the 3 charges carry a maximum lifetime sentence in prison. The suspect waived his right to a preliminary hearing on August 31st. His attorney Cohen plans to attempt to move the case to juvenile court. A scheduling conference is scheduled for Thursday, September 29th. Brett Favre could be in legal hot water. According to new court filings, the Hall of Fame quarterback repeatedly pressed then Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant for money to build a volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi. Favre's daughter played volleyball at the college at the time of the request. The filings say the demands came even after Favre was told the misuse of state funds could be illegal. The issue emerged from an investigation into improperly spent public welfare funds within the state's Department of Human Services. Favre is currently not charged in the fraud scheme, but he has been named as a defendant in a related suit. Last week, Favre's attorney said his client did not know welfare funds were used for the facility. Wisconsin House Speaker Robin Vos has filed a lawsuit against the House January 6th committee after being subpoenaed over the weekend to testify. Vos asked a federal judge in Wisconsin to block the subpoena. It called for him to testify on Monday morning, 2 days before the committee's next public hearing. However, Vos did not appear before the committee. This came after his attorney spoke with the panel and the House received copies of his court challenge. Vos says the committee wants to question him about a conversation he had with former President Donald Trump this July after the state courts blocked the use of some absentee ballot drop boxes. Trump, quote, requested Speaker Vos take further action. Vos argued the subpoena falls outside the scope of the committee's investigation into the Capitol attack. The Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin Union is endorsing Attorney General Josh Kaul. The labor union says they are counting on Kaul to put public safety and first responders ahead of partisan politics and special interests. Kaul is running for re-election and says public safety is his top priority. In 2021, Kaul determined Wisconsin building code requirements for sprinkler systems in multifamily dwellings are enforceable. And 2 Republican leaders are calling on the state patrol to provide answers about the security costs for Governor Tony Evers and Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Senator Robert Cowles and Representative John Macco requested security costs for the state's 2 top officials from July 1st of this year to the present. The GOP pair also asked for documentation on how the State Patrol determines the level of security that is needed and the roles Evers and Barnes staff play in this process. The state has until October 6th to respond to the questions. And complaints against Wisconsin nursing homes are surging as they deal with the nursing shortage. The State Department of Health Services says Wisconsin nursing homes received more than 1,500 complaints this year. That amounts to 190 new complaints a month. The state is also struggling to find nursing home inspectors. Wisconsin is dealing with staffing shortages from the pandemic and an inspection backlog. State officials are working to fix the issue by contracting with 2 private companies to inspect nursing homes that have complaints lodged against them. Well, it's been bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. New revelations about 3 top Trump allies are offering a deeper look inside the Trump White House. Amy Kiley reports on how those revelations relate to ongoing investigations.
The voting, let's get right to the violence.
3 top Trump allies, 3 major revelations, all in one day. Documentarians who followed GOP operative Roger Stone say that video is from the day before the 2020 presidential election.
You cannot really nail it down whether, he's joking or is he joking?
And they say this is from 2 days before the election.
The key thing to do is to claim victory. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Stone says he believes the videos have been manipulated. He says he advocated for lawful ways to challenge election results. The documentarians say the January 6th House Select Committee asked them for the video. It's holding a hearing tomorrow at 1.
Their interest was kind of the chain from the White House to Roger Stone and onwards to Proud Boys and Oath Keepers.
That video came out yesterday within hours of news about former Trump trade advisor Peter Navarro. The Justice Department is asking a judge to make him turn over government documents allegedly from an unofficial email account. The third revelation is in these text messages from Trump's then White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. They're with a man who tried to gain access to voting machines in key battleground states in December 2020.
You wouldn't think that the office of the presidency might have been corrupted to the point that it would be a racketeering conspiracy. But it's the only way to tell the whole narrative of what seems to have happened.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Coming up in international news, see why people are rushing to evacuate Russia and what problems that is bringing in itself. Plus, something new has been discovered in the Southwest Pacific Ocean. We'll take you there. Those stories and more news from around the world when we come back.
Violent crime up across Wisconsin. Families nervous about their safety. Yet Mandela Barnes called for releasing half of Wisconsin's jailed inmates. That would mean releasing over 10,000 criminals right into our neighborhoods. 10,000 reasons your family would be in more danger. Barnes also supported defunding the police. 10,000 more criminals with fewer police to protect us. What could go wrong? Wisconsin Truth Bank is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hi, I'm Dr. Justin Scherer, DC, with the Spinal Aid Center of Wausau. Are you one of the millions of people suffering with the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy? Your symptoms may include numbness and tingling in your feet or hands, difficulty sleeping from leg or foot discomfort, and debilitating balance problems. I have good news for you. You can now get relief with our breakthrough treatment method without the use of drugs or surgery. Our treatments help to heal damaged nerves that cause peripheral neuropathy. If left untreated, you may eventually end up with a walker or wheelchair. So don't delay. Call our office now to schedule an appointment to see if our treatment methods are right for you. We will do a painless neuropathy severity exam to determine the amount of nerve loss. If you qualify for our treatment, it can truly change your life. Start living your life pain-free. Call today.
There are so many things we take for granted, and along with them, sometimes we take the people who depend on them for granted too. How can they survive with record increases in their basic cost of living? And through no fault of their own, they're being left behind. If you or someone you know needs a hand up, our energy, water, and emergency rental assistance providers are working together to keep you safely in your home. You may not ask for it, but we're here to help.
Welcome back as we start things off this morning. A little cool in a few areas, enough that we have frost advisories that have been issued this morning for the counties highlighted here. Lasting till about 9 a.m., so hopefully you pulled your flowers inside. If not, they may have been zapped a little bit. Further out toward the north, no concerns for frost at this point, though, because even though we've had some clearing, there's been some clouds mixing in a few spots going from the north, going toward the south, though. We're still on the back edge of low pressure and just close enough where we are going to be seeing a few more clouds that'll be moving in now. And again, this area, a little pressure right here. It's going to be sending more of these clouds and a few sprinkles in our direction today. Maybe a few light showers too. But today's the last day for that, though, before we really enter a nice dry stretch for the next several days. And temperatures will begin to rebound. Today's the coolest day within the next 7 days. So we just got to get past today, and warmer temperatures will be on the way. We got to keep talking about this. So we have a lot of Wisconsinites that keep an eye on Florida as they head down to this time of the year. This is Hurricane Ian. Minute-by-minute satellite imagery. It's pretty cool what the satellite imagery can do from outer space. So the last couple of hours here, we've been getting a new image every minute from the satellite imagery, moving from the southeast to the north and west as it's made landfall in parts of Cuba. It's a Category 3 hurricane. It's weakening a little bit now because it has made landfall, but once it moves over the Gulf of Mexico again, it will re-intensify. But for now, winds up to 125 miles per hour, moving to the north at about 12 miles per hour. The red shaded areas here are hurricane warnings, with the orange shades here being tropical storm warnings as evacuations are underway in parts of Florida. It's going to be moving off towards the north pretty quickly, but it's going to kind of slow down once it gets close to Florida, as some of the steering mechanisms are getting a little bit tricky here, but possibly up to a 4 at some point, though. So this is going to be causing big problems for parts of Florida. So if you're thinking about going to Florida, I would definitely wait at least until further notice to see how this all pans out, because this could be a messy situation. Back here at home, a lot different situation. We're just cool outside this morning. We're in the 40s and 30s outside this morning, so jacket weather definitely needed if you're taking your dog out for a walk this morning. Our average high is 64 degrees. We have blue on this chart, 47 degrees for the high temperature today, but mid-50s Wednesday, climbing up each and every day. Before we head towards the weekend, though, with 70 degrees on the way, just in time for Saturday, so that'll be nice, right? Before we cool up just a little bit as we head towards Sunday into Monday. Futurecast moving forward. Here we are, more clouds moving in, and a slight chance for a few showers. Can't be ruled out again later on today, but look what happens tonight. Things begin to clear out, will be mostly clear, which will allow that frost and freeze to develop. So that forecast for today, mostly cloudy, a slight chance for a rain shower with highs in the upper 40s. The north wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. Later on tonight, crystal clear skies, mostly clear, that frost and freeze possible. Make sure those flowers are covered up or moved inside. Lows in the upper 20s with the wind overall looking nice and calm. And the Northwoods Furniture and Mattress 7-day forecast. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretty much the next several days. I'll just step off the screen and show you. We're going to be dry with a mixture of clouds and sun, but gradually warming temperatures in the 50s, 60s, and possibly even 70s just in time for the weekend.
Thank you, Devin. People in a rush to leave Russia have apparently caused a traffic jam at least one of its border crossings. These are satellite images of a border crossing between Russia and Georgia. According to witness reports, hundreds of vehicles have gathered on the Russian side, with some waiting up to 2 days to cross into Georgia. The growing lines appeared last week after Russian President Vladimir Putin announced some citizens may be called up to fight in its war in Ukraine. Men on their own and some with families have been seen waiting to cross the border. Hundreds of people have even approached the crossing on foot. And Edward Snowden has lived in Russia since 2013, but he can officially call it home now. The former NSA contractor has been granted Russian citizenship. An official decree on the issue was published on the Kremlin's government portal on Monday. Snowden previously admitted to leaking information about U.S. surveillance programs to the media. He's facing up to 30 years in prison in the U.S. for espionage charges. Snowden and his wife applied for Russian citizenship in 2020. And a new island has emerged in the southwest Pacific Ocean. Check out these new satellite pictures from NASA. A submerged volcano near the central Tonga Islands erupted earlier this month, spewing lava, steam, and ash. And the result? A new island that scientists say is growing pretty fast. On September 14th, researchers said it was about 1 acre, but just 6 days later, the island stretched to around 6 acres. NASA says don't get too attached. Even though new islands can persist for years or even decades, they usually don't last too long. And coming up in medical news, see how the amount you sleep and when you do it can impact your memory. Plus, a new COVID-19 booster could soon be on the way, aiming at a younger group of people. Those stories and more health news when we return.
Water is one of nature's most beautiful and life-sustaining resources. At no fault of their own, many Wisconsin utility customers are facing a shutoff to their water service. This leaves them without the one life-giving resource we all take for granted. And those hardest hit are on fixed incomes, juggling multiple temporary jobs, or those who lost full-time jobs in sectors hardest hit by the pandemic. If someone you care about needs a hand up, your local Wisconsin energy and emergency rental assistance providers are working together to keep you safely in your home and your water, heat, and power on. If you are in danger of losing your water service, call 833-H2O-WISC, 833-426-9472. You may not ask for it, but we're here to help.
No one could have survived that fall. We're gonna get out of here. What is this place?
There is a building, and it holds the answers.
We're gonna go home. Who's ready for my new plan?
There's no way this is legal.
Let me prove it to you. You need to operate now.
You can't take more. I'd rather die.
If you force a surgery on that man, you will never practice medicine again.
New Amsterdam, the final season, tonight on NBC.
At a company, the culture comes from the top. Tim Michael's company has been sued numerous times over sexual assault and harassment in the workplace. Women who worked for Michael's company said they were groped, assaulted, and pressured to have sex with their bosses. Higher-ups at Michael's dismissed the women as liars and even fired those who spoke out. Is that what we need for Wisconsin? Tim Michael's, too radical, too divisive.
It's Macy's VIP sale with an extra 30% off top designer looks. Plus 15% off fragrances, skincare, makeup, and more. Now at Macy's. Ghirardelli Caramel Squares. Makes life a bite better.
Alrighty, it is cool outside this morning. Some clearing in some parts of the viewing area, allowing some frost advisories to develop or to be issued this morning. No, so hopefully you can brought your flowers inside or cover them up. But we do have a freeze possible later on tonight.
Thank you, Devin. The amount of sleep people receive and when they receive that sleep could play a significant role in their risk of developing dementia. Researchers from China involved nearly 2,000 adults in the study. At the beginning of the study, none of the participants had dementia. Scientists followed up with them after more than 3 years and found that 97 of those individuals were diagnosed with the disease. The risk of dementia was 69% higher among those who slept more than 8 hours per night and 2 times higher for those who went to bed before 10 p.m. And there may soon be a new tool in the fight against COVID-19 for kids. On Monday, Pfizer and BioNTech announced they finished their submission to the Food and Drug Administration for an emergency use authorization. The request is for an updated booster shot for 5 to 11-year-olds. Officials say the shot focuses on strains that were part of the original vaccine and new variants. The 10-milligram dose of Pfizer's bivalent vaccine is already authorized for people 12 and older. Moderna also filed for authorization of its latest booster for children as young as 6. And Canada is getting rid of pandemic-related border restrictions that have been in place for 2.5 years. On Monday, Canadian officials said they are removing all COVID-19 travel restrictions starting October 1st. That includes testing, quarantine, and isolation requirements for people entering Canada. A transportation official said travelers will also no longer be required to undergo health checks or wear masks for travel on planes or trains. Similar changes will also apply to cruise line passengers and crews who will no longer be subjected to vaccine requirements or testing before boarding. And every year in the U.S., as many as 60 million people suffer from symptoms of seasonal allergies. This time of year, ragweed and molds are typically out in full force, and it can wreak havoc on your health. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on how to recognize when you're suffering from fall allergies and tips on how to deal with them.
It's officially fall. That means color-changing leaves, pumpkins, and apple picking, but also seasonal allergies.
Patients will think that they have colds, but the thing about these colds are they are every single year.
Dr. Sandra Hong, an allergist at Cleveland Clinic, says that's one way to know you're dealing with allergies. You can also tell by common symptoms, including a stuffy or runny nose, itchiness, watery eyes, and sneezing.
It happens for more than a couple weeks. It'll go on for seasons at a time.
Dealing with allergies may start with your pet, especially if they go outside.
If you are sleeping with them, you are basically sleeping with some weeds that are outdoors. So I usually ask my patients to keep the pets out of their bedroom, especially during their really big times of the year.
Hong says there are 3 ways to ease allergies, including over-the-counter treatments like nasal spray and antihistamines. An allergy shot can help, and Hong says you can also avoid what triggers symptoms.
Make sure their windows are closed and don't dry any clothing outside, and make sure that when they come in, they take a shower or they wash their hair if they can to get all of that pollen off of them.
If none of this works for you, Hong says go see an allergist because there are other therapies that can be used. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And coming up, a Milwaukee student is visiting the White House today. We'll tell you about the award-winning work that got her there. Stay with us.
The light at the end of the tunnel isn't shining so brightly for everyone. Families continue to fight for survival. Some jobs are gone forever. Bills pile up. But please know, you have not been forgotten. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency rental assistance providers are working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. Apply now for a hand up.
The best way to start your day is with a cup of coffee from Eagle River Roasters. Newswatch 12 Today wants to get that coffee to you through the Mugshot Monday contest. Enter online and watch Monday mornings to see if you're the lucky winner.
Hi, I'm Judy from Tomahawk Monument Company. When Tim and I want the forecast for Tomahawk, we go to WJFW.com and check my hometown weather.
Your hometown weather, available 24/7 at WJFW.com.
4 years ago, I had brain surgery to remove the tumor that was wrapped around my brainstem and spinal cord. Very intense pain in my neck, headaches all the time, and permanent vertigo. I came in and I saw Dr. Dave. He did some work on my top vertebrae. The pressure was alleviated and I can actually stand. It's been wonderful and great.
When the atlas vertebra at the base of the skull is out of